for Great North Wrestling in Hannibal?
Gosh, Great Northern is one of the premier wrestling organizations in across Canada, because they run shows not just regionally or not just a territory or not just in one province. The Great Northern Wrestling goes all over Canada, and they do a wonderful job. Put on these what they call super shows, which no one else in Canada does, where they bring in multiple stars at one time. And then of course Hannibal, holy cow, he's a different animal now, I'm going to tell you. He's a Hannibal. He could be called a cannibal, but so far he hasn't started gnawing on people. But I enjoy coming up here and doing wrestling shows for Great Northern, simply because they always have good crowds. They treat me with respect that I think, you know, veterans like myself and other people that are on his cards, he treats everyone with tremendous respect, and a great organization.
For the most part, it is good crowds. Can you describe this one night we were in Cornwall, where the crowd was bad, but it still ended up, we made the most of it, and we had a very fun night?
It was, that Cornwall show, it was not the best crowd in the world, by any means, but it was not the worst crowd I have ever been in my career, simply because I've done, you know, 2,000, 3,000 matches in that many cities. But by the same token, you would, as a pro wrestler and a performer, you want to be in front of as many people as you can on any given night. But some nights it's like the saying is, sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. Sometimes you have chicken, sometimes you have feathers. Well, that night happened to be we got more feathers than we did the chicken meat, but it turned out to be very, very entertaining. Just even for that small crowd, because the professional wrestlers are a different breed of animal when it comes to entertaining a crowd. Most of the guys, especially the seasoned veterans, they don't look out there and say, well, we only got 30 or 40 or 60 or 100 or 200 people, let's just not do anything tonight. The real pros in this business look at it as, these people paid their hard-earned dollars to come here to see us tonight, so why shouldn't we give them back what they paid for? And that particular night, we gave them a super, super show, and the behind the scenes turned into, anyway, there was a bottle of Screech that came out. I guess I have to say I was the instigator in the Screech, because the Screech, I'm not a hard liquor drinker, but when I come to Canada, especially over here on the East Coast, and not so much on the West Coast, because you can't buy the Screech outside of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. But anyway, I had some, we found some, and I brought it with me. I had 2 bottles, one for myself to take home and one for my wife. My wife is from Calgary, and a Ukrainian Calgarian. She had never had the Screech, but had heard of it from the Newfies who came over from Newfoundland to work in the oil fields, and they brought that nasty old Newfoundland Screech with them. And this fella Hannibal had not had the Screech, and so I thought it was only fitting that I gave him a small taste. You know, it's kind of like just a small taste, you know. Okay. I get the shows mixed up because they run together for me, because at that time I was doing the same thing. But apparently there was a different show with the Screech, but I think there was Screech in both shows, if I remember correctly.
There was Screech in both shows. But the first one's the one where I destroyed my car and drove on the road, so we don't want to get those. Okay,
we don't want to talk about destroying the car yet, because that is yet to come, and this is a real good story about the car. But yeah, this is, gosh, there was girls involved and all kind of nonsense, and we went to the bar, and I don't know, I guess I probably hit on everything in their mother, and old Hannibal there, he was hitting on everything in their grandmother, but it was one of the fun times, and that's the reason I come to work up here in Canada and have so much fun, with Great Northern, because when the wrestling shows are over, then we're free to go out and do what we want to do, and that's have fun. And the secret of this business, I think, is to be able to have fun. Yes, I would have to say that Hannibal is he is the premier promoter of, look, fellas, the show is over now, let's go have some fun. And that's what it's about. It's about coming out, doing your job, performing for the people, and when the show is over, now it's time for us to have some fun. And excuse me, but that's what we do. We have, every time he calls me, it's like, yes, I'm there. I will cancel somebody else's show to come and be here just because it's a fun show to be on. It's a fun show to be on after the show is over.
And I don't take it like WWE. I don't think my league is WWE.
No, that's very important. Great Northern does not try to compete with the big boys, with WWE, or compete with some of these little backyard promotions who say, this is my belt, I'm MCCW, or I'm this, or I'm that. He comes to town, he has great sponsors, they fill the buildings, we go to nice arenas, we're not in backyard toadstool places where there's no running water and things of that nature. But he doesn't go and try to compete with, no one can compete with WWE. He can compete with TNA. I mean, on any given night, he runs a show, he draws more than they draw.
So tell the story about the first time you gave Hannibal Screech. Now, it started in Hawkesbury,
okay,
which is about an hour and a half from Ottawa.
Okay, Hawkesbury is where the Screech story, I get the Screech mixed up because when I was really hitting the Screech, and I would hope someone has some for me to take home on this trip, but anyway, I brought out the Screech, and Hannibal had never been screeched. And I thought every Canadian had been screeched, but apparently he hadn't. And I pulled it out, and I said, have you ever tried this? He said, oh, that's that Screech. No, I've never. I said, it's so smooth, it's so nice, you have to try it. So anyway, I said, now you got to be careful with it. You can't drink a lot of it at one time. And he took a nice little swallow and then said, that's pretty good. Maybe I should have another one. And then one more, and then that's it. He has to have his match. He goes away, comes back, match is over, show's over. You got any more of that Screech? I said, well, there's a little bit left, but you know, I've had mine. He, well, give me some more. And take it easy now. Then we were to the point where we were pouring it in the beers, I think, and then we had to drive to Ottawa from this Hawkesbury. If any of you folks around the Ottawa, Hawkesbury area know, it's not a long drive, but if you've been drinking a bottle of Screech, it can turn into a very long, deadly drive. So Mr. Hannibal knew that I had an extra bottle because I said, I got to take this home to my wife. Give me that bottle of Screech. I said, no, we're driving. You can't have. Give me that bottle. Anyway, I break it out again. Here we go, down the highway. Take it easy. Give me some. Give it back. No, give it back. So he and I are like, come on, give me that bottle. Pretty soon we're down in the ditch, on the side, up on the highway, back in the ditch, down on the side. I said, I need to drive. No, I said, please let me drive. At least I can stay straight. And I did, through one eye. So we made it to Ottawa, and of course when we got to Ottawa, I didn't know where to go. So we stopped, he refreshed himself at his home, and came back out, and I thought, well, everything's okay. He gets in the car, here we go. It was like a scene out of that Highlander movie where the guy had the pins, the safety pins, keeping his neck together, and he's going, and 100 miles an hour. We go down a one-way street the wrong way. People are like running. It was a scene, they couldn't have shot a better scene out of a movie. And the people are diving from the car, and we're hitting trash cans and up on the curb and back down on the road. And we're like only a block away from the Parliament, from the White House in the United States, and the place is like, you know there's police everywhere. But I couldn't, at that point, I was too far gone, and I just strapped myself in and said, well, here we go. So we finally found a place to park, and the last I saw of my friend Hannibal, we made it to the bar, and he got outside, had no daily shirt. I didn't think he had a shirt on, but it was unbuttoned. He had a thing around the towel around his head where, because he had been, somebody had hit him and he was bleeding and the blood, and he had a beer can in one hand and a bottle of Screech in the other in the middle of the street, downtown Ottawa, where all the bars are and all the, and he was going, all right, the next day I see him and he comes to me and he says, I did $4,000 damage to my car last night, you know that. I said, no, I don't. He said, you're to blame. For what? You gave me that Screech. I said, you asked for it. You said, I didn't make you. Anyway, that is a Screech story for any of you folks out there who see this. If you've never been screeched, you know, you don't know. But if you have been screeched, you know what I'm talking about. And for you folks who have never been screeched, find some, try it, but do not do what we did. Don't drive and take Screech. Well, it was a night, Steven Spielberg or someone could not have shot a movie any more vivid than I remember trash cans going and people diving away and people on bicycles and, oh gosh. I love it. That's what this is about. If I can't have fun, I will stay home.
So one more question. You are friends with Hannibal, but not everyone is friends in this wrestling business. So can you kind of explain about the cliques? And even though it's entertainment, there's a lot of animosity between people. We're not all a big happy family backstage, either at this level or WWE.
No. That's a very key point. That the question you just asked about. Whether or not we're all, people think they're professional wrestlers. We're all friends. We all get together and we all party together. Sure, I might see Hannibal one night and be with him and go out and do something, or maybe the next night I might be in a different mood. He's in a different mood, and maybe our gears aren't clicking. The sun and the stars haven't lined up with the moon or whatever, one of those Hogan things like, hey brother, I can't take this anymore. There's all this negative vibes around me. But not everyone is friends in this business. We are business, I like to say it this way, we are business associates. You don't like everyone who works in the office where you work. You don't like everyone who works down on the truck docks where you work. You don't like everyone who works in the cubicles where you might have your little cubicle and you see them at the water fountain or you see them in the parking lot. You're only business associates. And things get out of hand just because there's tempers that flare. There's things that happen on a social basis where fellas might have a problem with another fella. I mean, I have seen backstage problems over a girl, over a Sunday dinner that didn't happen, or over somebody who came to Sunday dinner who didn't bring their own bottle, or they didn't bring their own food and they wanted to eat off of someone else, or someone. I had a problem with a guy one time because he didn't want to pay me the transportation charges, and back then we were charging 2 cents a mile. 2 cents a mile. So if we went 100 miles, it was like $2. And the guy went, well, I'll pay you next week. Well, look, it's not next week. It's $2, brother. You owe me. And I said, you'll never ride with me again. And that same fella, that particular night, he said, do you mind if I have one of those beers? I gave him a beer. He said, oh, that's pretty good. Mind if I have another one? Boom. So I only got 6 beers. Now he's already had 2 of them, and he says, can you spare me one more? So now he has 3, and then he wants to stiff me on the trance. Him and I don't speak today after 30 years, simply because of that. It had nothing to do with the wrestling business. It had something to do with something outside. But tempers flare. Guys go out in the heat of the moment. Somebody gets hit too hard, or somebody gets kicked too hard, and the next thing you know, there's a problem. And problems are happening all the time. I saw Bret Hart, and I'll tell a Bret Hart story real fast. I saw Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels down on the floor in Hartford, Connecticut. They cannot deny this happened because it did happen. They were in the locker room down on the floor pulling at each other's hair, and they had to be separated, and it had nothing to do with professional wrestling. It had to do with a personal vendetta they had against each other. These were two guys who just could not coexist anymore in the same locker room. And it finally culminated to, of course, the Montreal screw job, which, I mean, come on, give me a break. I can't lose the belt in Canada. Okay, well, we'll go across the border from Windsor, from Toronto, we'll do it in Detroit. Well, I can't lose, it's too close to Canada. Oh, come on, give me a break. But things like that do happen. I had a situation myself one time. I go in the ring with this fella. His name was Tommy Gilbert. His son was Eddie Gilbert. God bless Eddie's gone now. And his other son is Doug Gilbert. And by the time this airs, we will have all of us been at the Cauliflower Alley and have gotten an award at the Cauliflower Alley. But Tommy got his paycheck from Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler, and he wasn't happy with his paycheck. And Tommy and I were working like the second match on the card. We'd go out and start our match, everything's fine. Next thing I know, Tommy flying marries me over. Bang, bang, bang. I still have a knot on the back of behind my ear right now from where Tommy Gilbert beat the living crap out of me. And I get back to the locker room and I said, what are you beating on me for? And he looks at me and he says, I'm sorry, my name's Wayne. He said, Wayne, I'm sorry. It's just, I looked at my check and they gave me, the check was so bad, it just upset me. I said, Tommy, I didn't write the check. Go beat them assholes up. Don't beat me up. But that's what happened. Him and I had a scuffle over his check. Had nothing to do with me. But things like that do happen.
Now, one final question. In the movie The Wrestler, not once but 3 times does the supposed WWE star, who's similar to a guy like you, in my opinion, the way he's described, like he had a career and now he's back doing this. He goes back and the whole dressing room's standing there clapping. Now, can you describe to me, would that situation ever happen? Not only with a guy like you, because you know what it's like at this point in your career, you're not doing the last matches, but also would that even happen, have everyone clap? For a guy who was in the WWE for 10 or 15 years?
Now, I think when they put Ric Flair out to pasture, everyone, after his little ceremony and he retired, they all clap for him, then he goes off and, he's in multiple lawsuits, as maybe they probably settled by the time this airs, but as we speak, multiple lawsuits where he has stiffed all kind of people and didn't pay them back, and even I heard he was trying to pawn the watch that Shawn Michaels gave him to get money. But no, in that movie, The Wrestler, I only saw bits and pieces. I don't read wrestling books and I don't watch boxing and wrestling movies simply because when Hollywood, this what your guys are seeing now is the real. It's the real stuff. I'm not sitting here to make something up. I have no financial gain in saying or doing anything to fantasize something. It's the truth. I saw a piece in that movie, The Wrestler, like he asked me where everybody's clapping at your last match. No, I've never seen it, never happened. Nor have I ever in my life seen some guy from a gym show up with a bag of steroids and give them to or sell somebody in the locker room a sack full of steroids. I have never in my career seen that. Has it happened? Probably, but did I see it? When I saw that in that movie, I knew that was absolute bullshit. And for everyone to be clapping because somebody had their last match, I have never seen a locker room stand up and clap for anybody. Simply because professional people on our level that's in professional wrestling, they're more concerned with getting their tights off, going to the shower, packing up, leaving the getting out of the building, beating the traffic as they're opposed to standing there and waiting on Hulk Hogan to come back. Yay, Hulkster, way to go. You just beat Andre the Giant. Never happened. That's why when Hollywood gets mixed into something, and here we don't have Hollywood, there's no Hollywood director or producer telling us what to do or what to say. So this is the grassroots level of how it really, really is. And that's why I don't watch those kind of movies, because it's just not real.
And another thing that they show in that is the wrestler, who I say is similar to you, driving around in his van, wrestling for however much money he could possibly get. Can you make it clear that you get paid a decent wage? Whether the crowd's big or small, you get a guarantee.
Right.
Plus you get the autograph. So can you just make it clear that you're paid well for these?
The portrayal of that particular person does not exemplify what I do on my level of going out to do independent wrestling shows. I make a very good living. I don't make the kind of money that I made in WWE, but I do my own booking. I'm in charge of my own self. I usually do my own finishes to the matches. I set my own matches up the way I want to do them. And if I call home and tell my wife I had a bad booking, or the show was terrible, or I didn't sell enough photos or anything that goes with it, like on this particular trip, I forgot to bring the DVDs. So I call her and say, "You're not going to believe this. Last week I forgot to bring the little wrestling mask. This week I forgot to bring the DVDs." And you know what she says? "You booked it." And I have to say, you're right. I booked it. But the end result is I've been doing these independent shows for almost 18, 19 years. And that's unheard of for a guy who has not been on television in quite some time. But
You live in a nice house and everything too, right?
Right. But it's because I understand what I do. I understand that I'm not going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars out here doing these independent wrestling shows. But I make happy money. The money that makes me happy. And it doesn't take millions. Because those guys that I know who have made millions, like the Hulk Hogans and the Ric Flairs, they're all busted right now with nothing. They're wishing they could be on the independent show right now. They're wishing they could be in front of a crowd and sell themselves a $10 photo. They're wishing that. But they're not. But to have someone drive around in a van, this is his last match, this is all he's got left. First of all, I would never demean myself to that level as to say, "Please book me on a show. Please, Hannibal, please call me back. I'll do anything to wrestle. Please." Listen, that is desperation. Only desperate people do desperate things, and I'm not desperate. The part of the movie only the parts that I saw is they made it look like wrestlers who are not on the mainstream media wrestling show now. They're demeaned to working in elementary schools. They're demeaned to driving around in beat up vans, living in house trailers. Is there some guys out there like that? Of course there is. I can name you probably a half a dozen of them. But why are they doing that? Not because of love of the business, because they desperately need a $20 or $30 or $50 payday. And that's the sad thing, and they're the same guys who are on the phone calling people going, "Please, Mr. Poffo, you're running shows, can you please book me? I mean, I'll do anything I'll do TV jobs." Desperate people do desperate things. I mean, I'm not desperate. And most of the guys aren't that desperate. I mean, they're desperate for other things, but it's not for that. Some of them are desperate just to get away from their wife or kids, or get out of the house, or get away from their girlfriends, or whatever. I mean, gosh, for Christ's sakes.